I cannot bet against you on that one, Monster. From the World Cup all the way to here, I feel like you have seen it all.
Definitely have, man, and so have Cooper, Curly, Muzz, Sphinx. They've been through it all as well, and Cooper's gonna be the first to catch that early elimination. Talk about starting things off with the right foot, having that momentum really set you up here out the gate. Muzz has got to feel a little disappointed that they got sniped out the sky there.
Yeah, but luckily for them, this is reload, so they are going to be able to kind of get back up if Sphinx can kind of make it down again, which, yes, we are. And already that early action is like Cooper and Curly saying, guess what? This is what we think about your Div 1 Finals win. That was yesterday. This is today. It's a brand new day and a shot for them to reach the finals if they do get top 2 or maybe top 4, depending on Peterbot, Poyo, Cold, and Rapid do. For the other side of the map, another one of our contested drops, Ritual and Agers. We thought it was going to be a triple con. Dozier and Ishu refusing to move. One team did, so it's only going to be a regular contested fight.
Now, I was going to say, you do have Taki and Vert just off in the distance there. You can see them kind of lurking nearby as Agers finds that elimination. So I think we dare say, yeah, they're all in the mix right now. It just seems like it's happening everywhere. And then look at this, Peterbot's nameplate popping up. So we'll keep close tabs on where he's going to be managing to push towards. Doesn't seem like they decided to encroach right into Clicks and Higgs' territory just yet. However, on the other side, Dragon here at the Steamy Stack, right? This is that triple contested drop we knew was going to happen. Booga and King opting to take the northern side here for the most part. This is a really interesting dynamic, right? Because Rapid and Cold last week, or the last time we saw them, were so successful in farming eliminations.
Yeah, and this time around, that third team maybe throws something into the mix. And Cold, you see him with one elimination, but he went down to Dragon shortly after. So these fights are non-stop action. Dragon, Rapid, both trading shots here early on. Rapid trying to play a little defensive, but he edits perfectly to land that shot. But Haas comes in from the reboot. They get the elimination on the Rapid. Cold had just been rebooted, so he was trying to loot up, maybe get some farm of his own in order to fight that fight. So this is already the start of this game being tossed on its head with Dragon and Haas showing up and showing up big here.
Major surprise. I mean, everyone's counting them and putting their chips up on Cold to do the thing that they need to do, right? Win the drop. And talk about that Peterbot Oyo opting to rotate south like we just chatted about there. And you saw they pick up Vert for the elimination instead of going toe-to-toe with Clicks and Higgs there, which if you read into the socials, you read into online, we know that Peterbot, like Clicks has said best, just tries to put up a distraction, right? Don't look over here. Don't worry about how I'm performing. And Clicks is obviously putting up the numbers right now, and they seem to be very much primed here.
Yeah, it's just 8 games is a long time. Things can change halfway throughout the day, and so can the play styles. But Higgs, C, and J's all the way across. He also sees the drop coming in. And Clicks and Higgs, they've both secured both positions on the drop. They still need to be able to fight and actually pick it up. Agers on the other side seems to be in a struggle. He's going to go down, but Ritual gets the knock on the other side. He can't be the hero to actually get the revive, but again, this is reload. He done his job, and he did just enough to buy more time for Agers to get back in the game.
I'm not gonna lie, all in all, it's looking pretty tough for those southern teams right now. No material count, kind of playing off the reboot back and forth. This is really not the situation you want to be in, right? We talk a lot when you start really analyzing reload. It's about momentum, and talk about losing momentum. Bob coming out of nowhere, putting down Peterbot. What a play there to sneak a little RPG, and that looked very 2019-esque, right? Like kind of dating back to early Fortnite. You love to see it.
Yeah, sometimes you just got to go ahead and take those risks. And I don't think there's as much risk taking some of the early game fights, especially if you are uncontested, as you would in a regular BR mode. This is reload. You do get rebooted back. And if your teammate gets a down or a knock, that is more time cut off for the respawn timer. And if they actually get an elimination, that's more time. And if they somehow find a squad wipe monster, that's almost an instant reboot with no time spent respawning at all. Just kind of seeing how these fights are shaking out around the map. Some of them are being very aggressive early on, but some of them, like Reet and Venno here, Noxie and Mason, we saw them early on, they're not actually fighting each other out. There's one elimination here, but they're actually trying to play the game out to its fullest.
Yeah, definitely. And this is what Venno does best, right? One of the brightest minds when it comes to Fortnite. He's got the history and the historical track record to prove it. Pairing up now with Reet, who's very much matured in his own right as a player. I'm so curious to see how they're going to perform here in NA, at least for the Reload series for now. But hopping back to the fast action, Cold and Rapid seem to finally be finding their footing. Look, 2 elims here, but since we've last checked in, they've sort of seemingly, I think they got their groove going here.
I think it's a little bit more than that right now. I know it looks a little messy to start things off, but they actually get another elimination on the Dragon. Gold pump, and this is what Blake was talking about. This is the OG 200 pump that we do have back on the map, plus the exotic record revolver. So this is one team. I know for sure names alone, you don't want to fight them, but look at their loadout. They can end the fight in the blink of an eye, and they go right back on over to Steamy. They're going to go ahead and hit that mending machine and any other loot that they do need. Because remember, it was basically them head-to-head with Haas, while Bugha and King just took the outskirts. So there might be a lot of loot left in the map.
For sure. One thing's for certain, though, if you got the shotgun and the aim to back it up, you'll see there it's going to get put to use to earn points here. Puedo Peterbot back in the action here, though. We let him down for a little second there. You know, they allowed people to get comfortable here at the Slurpy Swamp. This is seemingly looking like a deja vu from last time we were here on the broadcast. They rotate right back in and bring the heat to anyone who's in their kitchen. And Peterbot, Puedo now at 3 eliminations right now, really picking up the points here. They're setting themselves up for a pretty explosive start on the day. That was exactly what we saw them do last time. And the difference then was they lost a little bit of momentum, right? They kind of eased up, got a little too comfortable. I'm curious to see if they're just going to maybe go out with a bang, right? Try to make things really flashy here, show people why this is one of the duels we love to look forward to, regardless of what the narrative online is.
Yeah, you just kind of notice what Pete's doing right here, and it's kind of like something you don't see every day in that moment. He dropped his legendary slurp juice. Puedo's going to go ahead and pick it up. He's just trying to hide it. There's different spots of loot around the map, plus those eliminations that they're able to pick up. So when it comes to getting those extra heals and getting those mats for Peterbot and Puedo, it's going to take no time at all. Clicks and Higgs, even though they only have 1 elimination here, they've been doing a good job of getting damage around the map, pushing the players away, because most of them will rotate in from the north. They will hit Clicks and Higgs' spot first before they go on over to Slurpee. So they're doing a good job of making everybody go and choose a whole nother route that they don't have to deal with. Bugha and King chose that route a long time ago from Steamy. They don't want to be facing cold and rapid throughout this early game fight. So Bugha, you know him from that BR mode, the early rotations, the smart plays to play a little bit of placement, and he lets those eliminations naturally come to him.
Really interesting that they opted to just keep a low profile, not really push the, the envelope. You would think Bugha would trust in, a young player like Genji's King there, but we'll see how it plays out. Some players just mature much better and play so much better come the late game, and that's what Reload really allows you to kind of flex, right? Your end game capabilities, believe it or not, since the early game is so chaotic, it gives you all that, flexibility to get there. Talk about such, we have Re and Mr. Veno here, just kind of playing the outskirts right now, opting to stay in the zone for some dead side rotates here, but they have a little trouble in Paradise here. Seems like there's a team nearby.
Yeah, and this is that point in the game where, like, reboots are still active. If you go down, you can get back up, but the zone is getting smaller and smaller. Where are you going to land? What loot are you going to get? So going down here is crucial. As Clicks and Higgs seem to be in a fight. I don't know how he got in this situation for Carbone, but they're seemingly taking advantage of a full-on 2-on-1 situation from inside of the box and out. They do get the down onto Clicks, but it is not an elimination, so Clicks will get back up into the game. They do secure another elimination, the 3rd overall since we last saw him, so they're keeping up on the roll that they're on.
Yeah, absolutely critical clutch up right there from Higgs, not to waste, any time, and also just give away your drop to the rest of the lobby, right? When you come spawning out the sky, everyone can definitely see exactly where you're coming from, and they'll be, attracting the attention essentially to Carbone there. So well played on Higgs to go ahead and clutch up there. Jumping on over to Iamzo and Joss. It's a very exciting team, right? We were talking about how much consistent performance we've seen out of Iamzo and Josh. Iamzo, for some reason, it always sounds like he's got so much to prove to the community, right? Is he the top dog or not? Well, clearly he's been up and up with top performances back to back. Josh on the other side, just trying to find his breakout opportunity this year.
Yeah, and the biggest difference for them coming into this qualifier than last is they were contested at Boom and Base in that last qualifier, and it wasn't actually going their way off spawn. They did manage to end up playing most of the games out through the mid and the end game, but when you go down off spawn, you're not able to set up how you want, you're not able to get the loot that you want. So being uncontested, we might see a whole different version of them. Cooper Curley still riding off of that first elimination in the game, and placement point sponsor, they start to come in at top 15. Unlike in that last qualifier, it was around that top 12 players were starting to get points. So it's a little bit more forgiving to get the placement points. That just means the placement points are top heavy in the top 5s to maybe even the top 3s of the leaderboard.
that was a big difference for Peterbot. Kind of come that mid time, during qualifier 1, right? They were falling off that placement horse. It became very, very difficult. So we'll see who ends up struggling with it this time around. So far, so good though. We're seeing some excellent play from all the competitors thus far. Plenty of teams still standing here. A lot of passive play too. Surprisingly, for a game 1 kickoff here, as Eshu and company are sitting underneath the phone here, and it's trying to see what can go ahead and reveal itself here. That's a launch pad play. A little bit of a miss, but we're setting it up so they don't go too high and they just go away with that plan. Straight on in they go.
I think you kind of said it perfectly for the most part. This game, or game number 1, is just a lot more passive than we've seen in qualifier 1 throughout almost any stage of that qualifier 1 through 8 when it comes to those games. So interesting to see, is this something with the meta changes? Is this the duo changes? Or this player's kind of figuring out how that first qualifier went on? Yes, you can get a lot of eliminations early when it comes to being uncontested, but how much of a role does that play? You know, we saw Hicks, we saw Peterbot, we saw them venture out in qualifier 1 early on to try to get eliminations. They go down, they get rebooted back in their spot, but they may not necessarily have the same loadout as they once had when they first went out there.
Yeah, for me, I think it's the time between the 2 qualifiers. You know, you get to play this first qualifier out, really analyze kind of how you felt in it. We saw there's only 9 new teams, right, jumping into this qualifier too. So most teams have realistically stuck together throughout the qualifiers. And I think that level of retrospect, right, being able to look at your gameplay and kind of adjust here, is playing a factor right now, and why so many teams seem to be very well positioned for the most part. This is going to be a very tough game 1 to win. I think whoever takes game 1 is likely going to be a team that's going to qualify. Maybe I'll have to call that early today.
Yeah, with more players alive and looking healthier than game 1 at the same time in qualifier 1, this is going to be chaotic. I know Kelly wanted to see it, and that's what her expectations won. Well, she's not going to have to wait long for that to be a possibility. You see a lot of the players from the backside of the zone using a combination of crash pads and shockwaves with the Flowberry Fizz to try to cover ground as quickly as possible. And there's a lot of missed opportunities here for Peterbot and Poyo, but as they say that, they make quick work of the shield coming out from King. Curly as well. Oh my, he just got down by Poyo. Big Elim there. Even if they can't clean up the loot, that's more points and that's more confidence and one less player to worry about.
Had his head in the clouds, and the lightning bolt struck him down there. Peterbot, Poyo looking very solid right now as they opt to play high ground, front side of zone, just doing everything very much textbook right now. And if they go for height again, I mean, that's just telling us they're taking a risk. But, talking about risk takers, seems like Osid is looking to go for height first. But now let's jump in with Khanada and Curve. We're in a bit of a mixy situation here, trying to fight for low ground. A lot of teams kind of in this congested area, so just trying to fish for something, possibly a little refresh here. Not that they necessarily need it here. They pull front side zone, and they're pretty much capped off on material right now. This is an excellent spot to be in.
Yeah, and I kind of what you said about teams sticking together, learning, VOD reviewing, and I think I'm seeing more and more of those Fizz launch pads coming out. We saw it kind of utilized by Acorn and Bolts a ton, even though they didn't qualify by just 1 point. So I think in this game we might see a few teams try to get that strategy. As Clicks and Higgs, they pull zone on their side. They immediately go up to try to hold onto that high ground. 8th zone though out of 12, lots of shockwaves. It might be too early to expend the type of material, but at the same time, we've seen teams kind of hold it zone after zone. It just all depends on what the rest of the lobby's going through.
Well, I'm glad you said it, because I was thinking about it. I think it's too early. We've always seen that first one to go for the high ground is usually the one that gets attacked, kind of early on and forced out of their position. So let's see if the risk was worth squeeze here. Meanwhile, Veno, Reet, front side of zone, already opting kind of play that mid to second high ground. So is Acorn and team. Again, you have some very dangerous competitors starting to encroach their high ground here.
Yeah, you see Clicks kind of weary of all the dangers down below. Even reconnects while they already were. Just trying to give them more leeway here as he looks in the backside of zone. Saw a snipe shot come from back there, and that was rapid. That was cold. Trying to be sneaky, and that's something that we see a lot, especially with the hunting rifles here in Reload. It takes 1 headshot and a shockwave to the high ground to turn the tides at a moment's notice. Cole just looking across, that double pump is ready to just wreak havoc on the rest of this lobby.
Definitely looking like it right now, and there goes that fight for high. Peterbot, Pollo, we already saw them hint that they wanted high ground, and they go for it this time. The fall is gonna fall onto Clicks, though. He takes the damage here, and Peterbot leads off as a solo now, losing his teammate in the clash there. Now Bugha, recognizing a moment here, takes it up with King. They secure high ground, and oh man, who would have thought that 8th zone was a little too early? Well, there you have it. It's back and forth. Peterbot's a solo. Higgs is a solo now.
Yeah, a lot of our high ground teams are actually getting out of the game or being forced to play as solos. I even saw Veno go down, and he's one of those that goes for a height more times than not, possibly leaving Coles by himself. A bunch of solos, 7 different ones, one of them being Reek here in this lobby. He does have the grenade launcher, launches it down low, trying to clear space in the front side of the zone. Peterbot as well. He has not given up on that high layer. He may have dropped down little by little because of those shockwaves, but he knows that low ground, that ultimate low, is one of the worst places to be as a solo. You see how much pressure he's actually going through from shockwaves, from getting sprayed. There's just so much going on. Higgs dodging most of it, going up and over with that shockwave. You're seeing 2 different sides of this coin.
Yeah, Higgs on the low ground here, looking very optimal right now. I like the positioning here. He's got plenty to work with. Meanwhile, Peterbot is just fighting his way through the mid layers here. A complete different story, and he finds an elimination on a solo there. Nicely done for him, and this is what Peterbot does best. Medmis comes out, though. He's in a box. Can he even find the track? And meanwhile, high ground changes hands. Acorn Bolts are going toe-to-toe with Bugha and King here.
Yeah, smartly by them. They seen the zone was cutting back in their direction a little bit. They dropped the med miss and they tried to cut it out. But Acorn and Bolts, they saw it coming. They reconnected to Bugha and King's high ground as the zone is cutting back. So even though they are there, they still have a shot to try to reclaim it if they want to take it. But Higgs still alive. You see the triple weapon load up, but the biggest blessing is that slurp juice. He's waiting for that perfect moment to use it. For 20 HP, you know that would be a waste. He's just waiting to see if he takes any damage. And right now, there's a little bit of pressure from up above. Returns the King again. Bugha goes in. He gets the elimination onto Bolts, leaving Acorn by himself. He's on 0 ping, and he is ready to roar.
He's not playing. Acorn goes down. There it is. King with 3 elims. Bugha there to back him up. Higgs just clutching up right now. We know how important placement points are, and this is a phenomenal game 1 for Higgs right now as he is performing out of his mind here. Meanwhile, there are still 7 duos remaining, right? There's a lot of placement points to be had here. All he has to do is hold on now.
Yeah, 3 different solos, Higgs being one of them. Just got to make sure you don't get spotted out. This is out of build officially. But he gets a 180, a big pump, gets the elimination. He's barely surviving on the Siphon Mats alone, but he gets in front with little space he has before the zone is catching up, trying to pop the Flowberry Fizz, but he has to go, and he has to go now. There's really no other options for Higgs as he's now getting sprayed a little bit by above. That was Bugha trying to target him out, and he's again out of builds in a tough situation with the zone pushing him in.
Still a couple more solos here, though, but Higgs is just in the mix, working back and forth. Medmis is finally going to get caught out of position there to the hands. Khanada and Curve, who are playing the ultimate low. They have control of this situation here. King and Bugha, though, fighting their way to the team that tries to take the top. And now, Jacob, we're set up for a clean 2v2.
Yeah, 2 teams that were part of Roster Mania in their own way. Up goes Khanada. He launches the shockwave down, trying to get Bugha out of zone. King is already there. Curve and Khanada are following it, and you might think they have to, depending on what the heal situation is. Khanada has none, trying to stop the heal off on the other side, but they trade in downs. King is out. It's Bugha versus Curve, but Bugha's keeping his heal off going. The last medkit. Curve tries to break in the box. He lands a shot on the Bugha, and Curve, with a roster switch before this, makes it count as him and Khanada take the game.
Talk about a close game. Now, wouldn't have thought Bugha would have gave away the lead there. Love the play, though. Tries to go for the heal off. What a game number 1. Well, we called it. Curve and Khanada go ahead and win that one. And we knew, Zeke, it was going to be exciting.
Khanada! Khanada! Every time, you see, this is why I write the script this way, because every time Khanada does this, he comes down, he gets these clutch VRs, and it's what I live for, Kelly. It's all I have to live for.
It's such a clean win. There was so much just chaos going on in the high ground, so many teams fighting back and forth for it. And there's Khanada and Curve just staying to the front low, not really doing anything, not really going the aggressive. They had 4 eliminations when it came down to the final 2v2. And sometimes that's all you need. Let everyone else have fun and eliminate each other. And you two just focus on the win. And that is what we saw from Curve and Khanada.
Yeah, I said it in the pre-show. Khanada always finds a way to get it done. And Cuve is probably very happy with his decision of splitting up with Craze right now because they took the game 1 win. But that game was insane. We saw tons of teams going up for height. Peterbot kills clicks. It was crazy, Zeke.
I'm telling you, man, I just don't know how he does this. This is why we say, like, man, there's a track record there. Now, of course, Kelly, like, I love that these guys got the first game VR, right? Like, the question is, do we keep this momentum going? Could this be the performance that kicks off them qualifying after 7 more games?
You know, with the roster apocalypse that's happened, I think that there is a lot of animosity